Now, if you've been diagnosed with any sort of hemolysis, before I explain you what's wrong with your erythrocytes, that is the red blood cells, I have to explain what is hemolysis to begin with. Then it's going to be easier for us to understand what is causing it or what might cause it. I want to especially mention one particular cause. So when you're a doctor, when you have to explain things to people in simple terms. So instead of using these complicated words such as destruction of hemolysis, we can just say destruction of your red blood cells. That's basically what it means. Destruction or a shorter lifespan of your red blood cells. And these red blood cells are responsible for carrying oxygen. So this is what they normally look like. They sort of look like a disc if we look at them from the side. And they're basically responsible for carrying oxygen to your brain. And, well, if you have lack of these blood cells, then obviously you can get a whole bunch of symptoms. These blood cells not only get to your brain, they get to your heart, they get to your kidneys, they basically reach almost any part of your body. So a red blood cell is a cell which has protein inside of it. It's called hemoglobin. So let's assume this is the protein, hemoglobin. And this protein is responsible for carrying the oxygen, and it does so by binding oxygen to itself. And then it brings this fresh oxygen from the lungs, right? From the lungs, it brings it to our brain. And that is one of the really beneficial things of these erythrocytes, that oxygen is not spread through some sort of diffusion or something, but instead your blood is not just fluid. It has these little carriers which can take oxygen and bring it up there. So it's not just that a fluid goes through your lungs and that's it. No, there are special carriers that can carry the oxygen. So it's such a complicated process in which so many structures are involved, and I'm trying to simplify it. And a lot of things can actually go wrong. So, for example, you could have a bleeding in your internal organs, for example, especially in your guts, and that could cause anemia, and your blood count, the red cell blood count, would drop. You would have a lack of these blood cells, and you would end up not having enough of oxygen in your peripheral organs, in the peripheral parts of your body. Well, another thing is, for example, you could simply end up not having molecules that are required to build this cell to begin with, right? And one example is vitamin B12, for example. Vitamin B12, and it is often so that vegans and vegetarians can lack that vitamin. And hey, I'm not against vegans or vegetarians. I myself promote not eating meat. The only meat I eat is fish, and I'm trying to promote not to eat meat because it's bad for environment, but it's bad for these animals because they're tortured in these factories. So I have nothing against vegans, but the fact remains that they do. It is in the studies we see that vegans do lack vitamin B12. Now, lacking this vitamin can actually reduce the number of the number of cells that can carry this hemoglobin. But when a doctor diagnoses you with a, let's say, corpuscular hemolytic anemia, then that means that there is something wrong with your erythrocytes, and it is causing their early destruction, right? So if I diagnose you with corpuscular anemia, well, corpuscular hemolytic anemia, that means that nothing came here and destroyed the erythrocyte, or and it also means that we had enough of things to actually build it to begin with. The problem is within the erythrocyte itself. So let's assume this is a red blood cell, and it looks like one. And inside of that, we have this hemoglobin, right? The red blood cell also has a membrane, and this membrane is, every cell in a human body has a membrane. But besides these structures, inside of this cell, there are enzymes, right? And enzymes are proteins that are responsible for doing a whole variety of functions. And one such example is glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase, or pyruvate kinase. Basically, all of these cellular parts that I have illustrated can actually cause a hemolysis. But all of these causes result in similar symptoms. Those are the symptoms of anemia. For example, there are issues with membrane of the red blood cell, and it can cause these red blood cells to have a weird shape. So, for example, they can have an elliptic shape or spherical shape. To know more about how to distinguish between these different causes of hemolytic anemia, you can go to our website symptomsky.com/help/anemia. And there, if you have more questions, if you want to know more about anemia, if you're diagnosed with anemia, then you're at the right spot.